Jackson gave me the news of a planet far away. And Colonel O'Neill will assemble a team that will try to save the day. Dr. Sam has a master plan and a science attitude. And the Jaffa Teal, he's part of the deal with his trusty Goa'uld. It's just a regular day at Stargate Command, and it might be hard to understand.
Chevron 1 encoded. Chevron 2 encoded. Chevron 3 encoded. Chevron 4 encoded. Oh no, this is gonna happen. Chevron 5 encoded. Chevron 6 encoded. Chevron 7 what? We have a stable world.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome.
I'm your co-fry, Sarah.
I'm your co-fry, Cristina.
And I'm your co-fry, Rebecca.
And we are back with another banger from season 4, man. They're just cranking them out.
It's pretty solid, like from
So
beginning
good.
to end.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So this week we are talking about the other side. Oops, all war crimes. That was my very first thumbnail.
I have to say, like, because you're all of you out there, like, I'm gonna give you the credit, Sarah, like right now, because I got so many DMs. Not that I didn't give you the credit in the DMs either.
Yeah.
So like everybody knows. But I got so many DMs about this thumbnail and the oops all war crimes. So that was all Sarah, everybody. Like completely.
Round of
Sarah.
applause.
Round of applause.
Guaranteed, if it's a funny one, it probably is me and or looks like a shippy romance novel. That will probably be me too.
Yes. Well, we can
Pretty
do
much,
we can do a lot of that coming up too. It's very exciting.
Oh my god, you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long one. I'm ready. Are you guys ready?
Do we have any Frybox?
Potty break? Yeah, just some,
things?
like general housekeeping and whatnot.
Okay, let's hop in
Cool.
the Frybox real quick.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, and everybody buckle up after that. So
Totally.
Short, cause we're 3 Fridays short.
So just as like a general housekeeping rule, because we are going live like to everywhere, like through all of YouTube. We used to do it just for patrons, but now it's like accessible to everyone.
Mhm.
We are going to have like an allotted time where we're going to look at comments and put comments up just to keep us on track so that we don't get derailed, because we like to go on our tangents
We like
already.
our-
So
Train of
it'll
thought.
be after like our episode just review, and right before we get into like themes and discussion, we'll have like a comment time. So if you're commenting as we go, we're not ignoring you. Like there will be a time for us.
we're
to
trying
do
to kind of ignore you so that we don't get derailed. Like, but we're not really ignoring you. We're just kind
Yeah,
of
like it's not
Yeah.
heartless. We just want to stay focused because as we enjoy doing this, there's more commentary, and we just want to make sure those that are listening and can't watch it also can follow along and be in a good spot with it. And then also just So shout out to can we give a shout out to who's helping us moderate right now?
sure.
Because we enlisted some help. So huge shout out to John. Thank you, John D, for helping us tonight. Keep an eye on the chat and just making sure that everything is good to go. And yeah,
We made some other
Much
people
love.
some mods too that are consistently here. So
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes.
Are they aware, or did we just do it?
They're aware. They're aware.
Okay.
I talked to them. Yeah.
Surprise! You're a mod.
Surprise. It's just like the whoops all war crimes thing.
Are
Surprise.
they
whoops.
whoops all mods? Are they
All
able
the
to like
mods.
star the comments, or is
They're
that only
not.
through-
They're
okay.
not. So I will keep an eye. And please, if anybody does have questions about things that we're talking about, saying whatever, still type them in there, because I will mark them and we will come to them.
Yeah.
It's just like Christina was saying, especially since we still very much post this out as
Mhm.
audio as well. And I said I'm as guilty as anybody else of this. Like, I'll see a comment and I'll start laughing and I'll throw it up, and then anybody that's listening has no idea what we're
Yeah.
talking about. So I think it's just going to be all around like
Agreed.
better. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's it. Nothing else. Do you want to any companion stuff you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it. March 2nd, which is a week and a half ish away. We've got a tarot rothery coming on
Hell
for
yeah.
we're calling it part 4 of Embracing Mental Health. So, because she does a lot with meditation, or I don't know if I've said it here. I don't know where all I've said it, but I did take a meditation class with her. I say a lot of the same thing many times
Just
these
assume
days.
you've never said it and say it again.
Okay. I took a meditation class with her 2 weeks ago now, and it was really, really good. And um was able to, with the help of everybody else that was in that meditation class,
You
that
were
was yelling about fries, and poor Terrell's like, "Why are they talking about French fries?" Um, but yeah,
I
that got
mean,
me in on the conversation, and we were able to ask her to come and talk. So she's doing a live stream and then a
that's
meditation
awesome.
class. So there are two tickets left to the meditation class. 2.
Dang.
So
yeah.
if you wanna
Dang.
come, you should probably do that like very soon.
Cool.
I find it comical that there's this random thing of like French fries. Like, why? Like, I never really quite put into my mindset that we would be that like weird thing for people. Like, where we go into a room and everyone's like, "Ooh, there's an inside joke," and like we're the center of it. You know? Like,
Yeah. It was when I popped into that session and somebody goes, "It's a French fry." It was like
it's a French fry.
it's the best thing ever. So thank you for if anybody who was there is watching right now or listening. Thank you for giving me that experience. It was lovely.
Oh,
A
I can't
plus
wait.
unintentional branding on our part because like 3 fries short is from the episode Window of Opportunity, but there's also
Yeah.
3 of us, so like it's perfect.
It is.
And we are a little bit 3 fries short at times in our mental stability.
Yeah.
In our wackiness.
Trade
So
off.
it all fits.
Sometimes we're just sharing that one last brain cell to get us through, you
It's
know?
being passed around the group chat. Like
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a good one. Lots to say, so I feel like I'm
yeah,
gonna
we
try
should
my
dive
best
in.
to keep it
Oh
to
yeah.
the
I
end.
got
I'm gonna do my best to like wait till the end.
Let's do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's dive
All
in.
right. So we are talking about again season 4, episode 2, The Other Side. And our episode opens with Jack arriving on base to begin his day, and there's an unscheduled off-world activation. It's all hands on deck. Like they're calling in the cavalry, the blood fields and everything and whatnot. Jack makes his way to the control room where he finds Sam and Walter. And there's this really cute like piece of dialogue, and Jack is like, "I'm here 2 hours early. When did you get here?" And Sam is like, "Well, I didn't." And he's like, "Didn't I order you to get a life?" Which is a questionable order. Like,
I mean,
The best part about that though is
it was
without
so
a
cute.
pause, she goes, "Yes, sir, you did." Like
it was
she
totally she's
Like,
like
yes, but and
kind of
I don't
annoyed,
give a
like,
shit.
"Well, yeah, you did, but like, I'm busy." I also find it hilarious that Jack um, ordered her to get a life, but he is also showing up to work 2 hours early, which only reinforces my theory that he shows up early to get all of his shit done so then he can just fucking goof around and maintain his like class clown imagery of
Yeah.
Oh
like
yeah.
so yeah, he's 2 hours early. He's not the slacker he wants everyone to think he is. So then Daniel comes into the control room and they're trying to decipher these radio signals being sent from the other side. And Daniel has also not left and points out somebody's trying to contact us. How often does that happen? Like normally
I
we're
just
the
love
ones.
how like nerd out he was. He's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
duh.
Like, this is really cool, man. So they decipher the message and a voice comes through. The man's voice says, "I repeat, this is Yoronda base. Have you reached the other side, Falar? If you can hear me, please respond." And Sam is trying to reply, saying, like, "Don't send anyone through. Oh my God, don't send anyone through." But Walter tells her, "Sorry, like, we haven't matched their frequency. They cannot hear you." So the gate deactivates. I don't know why, like, it just Teresa.
Teresa Gate deactivated.
Teresa Gate
Yeah.
deactivates.
So Sam asks Walter, like, "Hey, there were 4 other incoming wormholes before this one, and the iris was closed the entire time. Can you see if any bugs hit the proverbial windshield?" And Walter checks and confirms that there were 3 impacts, which means 3 people died trying to come through the gate. but they splatted against the iris,
Mhm.
which is a total bummer.
Hmm.
Daniel leaves to look up Uronda, the name of the planet that they heard, and Sam is totally bummed, but Jack is like, "It's not your fault."
Can I have like
Opening credits.
one thought here? Just like, because I think this is relevant.
Only the one.
Only the one. I just get one.
Just the one.
Just the one. I think that's all my brain can muster today anyway. But in all other episodes, there are other times where we've had the gate dialed in and it has been off world and it has been assumed an enemy until otherwise. And why this time are we all of a sudden super emotional and feeling guilty and like feeling like we're on the right side of it with them? You know what I mean? Like every other time I feel like it's met with apprehension or hesitation and like there's not this like identity given to the group of people until they know more. But this time around, like there's so much like it's okay. Like don't let it bother you. Like we don't even know who these fucking people are. We don't know anything about them. But there's always this like already this presumed like you'll get over the guilt of it. It wasn't your fault shit. Like that kind of bothered me. Like that tone was a little bit weird for me.
I honestly can't think of any other time that happened when they didn't know for sure who it was. Like, I know it happened at the beginning of the series when they first installed the iris and the Gould were trying to
Yeah.
send through like a bunch of like bad shit. So like that,
like-
it's like, okay, we can justify that because they're trying to fuck our shit up. And
But
they're
to
like,
that point, like why do we defer to being like why wouldn't we defer to the hostility versus the like warm welcome, especially given it's a military operation? I just like that felt weird to me. Like we were assuming kumbayaing and being happy-go-lucky with them from the get-go.
I think because when they came through, like when we heard the voice, we realized like, oh shit, this is not like an attack. These are people asking for help. So it kind of like gave it a different tone as opposed
And I guess
to
this
like,
is probably seriously the Daniel Jackson in me because he's also the one who's like super apprehensive this whole episode. Because for me, I'm like, why are we trusting these people so quickly? But anyway, I don't know.
I think there was
I don't know.
also a bit of a frustration because of the fact that they've been dialing over and over again. Like it's connected like 5 times. And
Fair enough.
every time Walter has seen the proverbial bug against the not 5 times, but
Fair
3
enough.
times against the iris. And then after all of that, then the voice finally comes through and they finally figure out somebody's trying to talk to them. So I think it's like it's that buildup of
yeah,
all of that that makes it a little worse for them.
yeah.
Fair. Okay.
So we cut to the briefing room where SG-1 are playing the message that they decoded for Hammond. And it says, your kindred are besieged by a powerful enemy unwilling to listen to reason. Our supplies are all but gone. Our defenses are on the verge of collapse. Help us, please. And Hammond asked, like, what can we possibly do to help them? And Daniel points out the obvious: food, clothing, medical supplies, like anything like that. Teal'c points out that above all else, it seems that they seek military assistance. They need help with their defenses and or weaponry. And it could also be a ruse by the Gould. Like this could be like a weird sneak attack. But Sam and Daniel disagree because in the message, he called themselves our kindred. 3 of which were killed by the closed iris. Hammond points out that's not exactly starting off diplomacy on the right foot.
I mean,
Sorry about you guys.
Whoops.
my bad.
So there's another off-world activation, and Walter is on top of his shit because they're able to establish the 2-way communication right away. He's like, I figured this out.
Our man
got you.
Walter.
Yeah.
Well done.
So a man's voice comes through. He introduces himself as a Lar, and he's ready to jump through that Stargate ASAP, but Hammond is like, no dice, my man. You're going to get splattered. And Alar asks, what about the 3 volunteers that they sent through? And Hammy has to break the news that they're dead because we had no way of knowing if they were friend or foe. So we have some dialogue. It's Alar, Hammond, O'Neill, Carter, Daniel.
Carter Hammond for me.
I got Daniel.
You want to do Alar too?
Yeah, I do Alar too.
And I'll get the O'Neill.
Okay, cool. See? And that is still the case. Clearly, we must gain your trust. and then it gets an image of him appears on the screens. Clearly, he's
magically an image
able to
appears.
override the technology.
Yeah.
Magic. Now you can see for yourself that we are kindred.
We do.
There is much my people have to offer in exchange for your help. If I could speak with you in person.
We need to know more about this enemy you are facing.
We have coexisted on this world for centuries. Now they occupy the majority of Yoranda's landmass.
That rules out anybody we know.
How have you managed to survive for so long?
Our facility is deep underground, protected by defense fields, and our weapons technology is far superior. But now, 1 or 2 of their bombers penetrate our airspace each day. And then Daniel says, "How did you find us?" Alar says, "We discovered the Stargate while creating the tunnels for our defense facilities. There were writings on the ancient stones it was buried beneath. We are under attack. I must return to the war room. Please help us."
So as he's like saying that last part, you can tell the footage is like cutting in and out. It's an unstable connection. They're getting bombed. So the screen goes blank and the gate shuts down. They're unsure of how to help because like Teal'c's like, we can't help them if we wanted to because we don't know where they are. But then Sam is like, actually transmitted the address before the gate shut down. So like we got digits. Cut to the briefing
They
room.
slid that napkin with the digits over.
Yeah.
Across
Like,
the line.
Call me girl. So cut to the briefing room. Daniel is making a case like far too hard, and Hammond easily agrees with him. Like it's even to a point where like Hammond agrees and Daniel is still going on his spiel and he's like, "Wait, you said yes?" Okay.
Yeah.
Hammond says, "We cannot and would not devote the resources to turn the tide of world war. However, as Dr. Jackson points out, there are humanitarian concerns. We'll start with all of the food, medical supplies you can take with you." So the team leaves and gets ready to ship out, and Hammond holds Jack back. He's like, "Hold on, let the rest of the class go. I need to talk to you alone." And basically is like, "Hey man, I know like we're all in the, peace and love and harmony and shit, but we might have found a world that has more advanced technology than we do and they might be willing to share with us. So like you need to like get in on that shit." And
you know what this reminds me of?
What?
The movie. Jack gets put on a different mission to get weapons. When Daniel was sent on humanitarian.
Secret. Yeah. I don't know if it's like completely secret though, because
No, but it's kind of
like
a cool callback because like this is the first time they've like done that. It was a nice little callback.
Yeah. It is still kind of shady that like Hammond is like, "Hey man, like I know we're sending help, but like remember why we're here." So Jack agrees. They're all on the same page, and SG-1 ship out with varying degrees of uneasiness. They're all kind of like, "This feels a little weird. Like, I don't know." And as soon as they get through the other side, Alar is injured. They help him up, and other Urandans intercept, holding weapons up to them. But Alar vouches for them and tells the others they are our kindred of Earth. They've come to save us. Which it's like, man, you're landing on thick. Like, we didn't agree to save anybody quite yet, man. So, cut to a formal-looking command room. Alar is being tended to medically. Their defense field is down to a minimum sustainable strength, and the room that they're in currently is much more protected than where the Stargate was, because there's like a lot of rubble and shit over there. And
I have to dive in here though and acknowledge, now that we've definitely seen plenty of Alar, that he was played by the late great Rene Aubergenois, who played Odo in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So
yes.
Just for all the, I know we got Trek people in the comments. They're probably like, "Why are they not talking about this?"
Had I not heard you pronounce his name previously, I would have seen it and been like, "Renee, blah blah blah, blah. Something French."
Renee, French name. Yeah.
Good job, Rebecca.
Thank you for that. So Alar is regaining his health pretty quickly and tells Sam that their beta canton ensures immediate recovery. Fancy technology thing number 1. Jack like gives Sam a look, like he raises his eyebrows. He's like, "Ooh, that looks fun. Like I want some of that." Daniel and Teal'c meet up with them and let them know that supplies are being distributed, and Alar takes notice of Teal'c. So we have some dialogue. It's Alar and Daniel and like one O'Neill.
I'll do Daniel if someone else can grab Alar.
I'll do Alar.
Okay, I can do Daniel Teal'c in this one.
Okay. Who is this?
Alar, this is Teal'c.
You are not of their kin.
I am in fact a Jaffa, though, like you, my ancestors are descendants of the Tari.
He's part of our team.
Is he? Then welcome.
Weird thing, number one, but could be passed off as like, I've never seen an alien before, so like I'm a little nervous, but you know, hindsight 2020.
Yeah, because we know Teal'c is different looking from and acting and everything from them in many, many ways. So at this point, we don't
know.
There's not a lot to go off of.
Yeah.
Right.
So Alar gives them the grand tour, and we learn that Alar's father was in leadership when the war began. So that's why like a lot of people defer to him. So he's a Nepo baby. And he's kind of taken up that mantle, but they all share daily responsibilities. Like, hey, we all work together, but like people look up to me because my dad was the grand poobah, you know? So Daniel poses the question, why don't they try to escape to another world? And Alar takes them to this vast chamber containing thousands of stasis pods. And he goes on to say their autonomic functions have been regulated so their hearts beat once but every few minutes. We had little choice but to live underground, and this facility's resources are limited. It was the only way to preserve the generation of my father. Thousands sleep here, thousands more in another chamber like this, awaiting the end of a war that will not end. So the people who are like running this facility are a fraction of their population, and the rest of their population, hundreds of thousands of them, are in these stasis pods being kept alive through stasis. So cut to a military defense room. Each station is capable of piloting a formation of unmanned aero fighters. And because of these men and women, enemy bombers rarely return to their homeland. So it's like these little pods. I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like a cockpit, and like the screen comes down and they man these drones from underground.
Yep. It's like a gamer pod, like a little
kind of, yeah. Kind of like you would see at an arcade almost. So Jack asks about ground attacks, and Alar explains the enemy hasn't tried that in years. And Teal'c presses this matter. He's like, why not? They outnumber you. You're surrounded. You're clearly the weak link here. But a woman named Pharrell explains the atmosphere of Yolanda has been poisoned since the war began, and the surface is unlivable. Weird thing number 2, maybe. So their planet's uninhabitable. Why bother fighting over it? Alar brushes Daniel off and says, well, it's not always going to be like that. Weird thing to say. Like, okay, your shit is like destroyed and like uninhabitable, and you're still fighting for it. Like you
why?
have the Stargate. Escape through the Stargate. Take your whole pod people with you.
All your pod people.
Yeah, just like wake them up like 10 at a time. Send them through. I don't know.
Just wheel them through. They're fine. Just
yeah,
they can stay in stasis.
So the topic is quickly changed when an enemy bomber approaches, and Alar offers one of SG-1 to try and take the bomber out. And Pharrell explains it's just an unmanned drone doing like a reconnaissance. Just, you know, test it out. Jack is skeptical at first, but Alar's like, hey man, don't you want to share toys? Like, think of this as a test run, right? Where it's a good faith, you know? We're showing you what we got. So Jack agrees and tries out this shit, and it is fancy. Like, Reba McEntire, fancy was his name. So
I like they tell him that it's a neuropathic link or whatever they call it, like technobabble they use, and he just has to be like, Carter, like,
yeah,
like what does this mean?
What? You control it with your thoughts.
Yeah,
I got it.
Just think, it'll do what you want it to.
Yeah.
So Jack takes out the drone with ease. He tried talking to the other man working in the station next to him, but he's weird. Like,
he looked
his mouth is like hanging open. He looks ill.
He looks like he has seen death and beyond, and is now just mush, is what he looks like.
Yeah. And we do find out that his brain is actually mush.
Yep.
Mhm.
Alar explains that Olan is one of our best pilots, Colonel, but he spent most of his adult life in that chair. Years of exposure to neural interface is damaging. Very few of us, including myself, can ever pilot again without risking what happened to Olan. And Jack is justifiably worried. He's like, what the fuck? Like, am I
Put a
gonna get
disclaimer on
cancer
that
now?
shit.
Yeah.
Like,
But Alar explains that like brief exposure won't cause any harm. It's like this is from years of doing this.
That guy sat in that chair for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a glorified vegetable.
Mhm.
So Alar suggests they celebrate their new alliance, and Jack looks at Olan again, this poor guy. Again, he's a vegetable. He's just like steamed broccoli sitting in that chair.
God.
In the dining room,
He even like does the thing with his mouth because he's
So-
just looking at the guy with his mouth open, like, and he's like,
yeah, he does. Making sure it still works. He can still close it.
Does it still work?
Oh
I
God.
can still feel my face. So, in the dining room, Alar breaks open a bottle of wine to toast to their new friendship. Everyone toasts along with him except for Teal'c. And Alar and the other Urandans take notice of this, and they're kind of offended. And they question Teal'c, but Teal'c tells him that he doesn't drink alcohol. And Alar looks uncomfortable. But go Teal'c. I love him living his best sober life and not succumbing to the peer pressure to drink.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
He could have pretended, but he's like, no, not my thing, man. So Pharrell redirects this moment of awkwardness and asks Jack what he thought of the weapon system. He agrees. He's like, we'll take a dozen. They're great. And Pharrell also compliments the food, which are just MREs. They're nothing special. Jack is like, we can do much better. But the Urandans have only been surviving on hydroponically grown yeast for many years.
Disgusting.
There's this scene of like Daniel who's eating something. He's like, "Is that what this is?" And it's like this like white like gruel looking shit.
Like a part of me is like, do we need to worry about their tummies and their stomach? Because like if you ate that for so long and then you switch it up, you're gonna be sick. There's gonna be some
IBS, man.
cramping. You're gonna have some issues.
Gonna take some gnarly shits in the Urandan bathroom.
Oh,
Let's just pump it up into the environment and poison the air some more, you know?
God.
So we
mean-
have some dialogue. O'Neill, Carter, Alar.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take over O'Neill and Alar,
Cool.
I guess.
But Sarah, do you
It's
want to be
I
one?
mean, well, it's mostly Alar.
Oh, why don't you be
and
Alar?
O'Neill. Okay.
So I'll wait. Okay, I'm sorry. The way that I'm looking at the notes, it's like not bolded out, so it's hard for me to like see. I'll be Olar and you can just be O'Neill, you're normal.
Okay.
Does that feel better?
Sure.
Sorry.
Your power generation requirements must be enormous.
Do you not utilize controlled fusion on Earth?
Controlled?
It is most efficient means of power generation. Unfortunately, the deuterium oxide fuel we require to operate our reactors, is now in short supply.
Heavy water. It's like regular water, sir, except the hydrogen nucleus contains.
I know what heavy
two-
water is, Major. And if that's what the Urandans need, we'd be happy to provide.
In return, we can teach your people how to construct weapons systems such as ours. Aerofighters, stasis devices, fusion reactors.
Sounds fair. Carter?
medicines.
Oh, yeah, right. We were very impressed by that beta candy stuff.
Beta can't. Oh my gosh, now I can't say it.
Beta Canton.
Beta Canton, of course.
Yes. So they're like all too willing to be like, all we basically need from you is glorified water, like salt water, ocean water, and we will give you everything. And Daniel poses the question, hey, like, shouldn't we ask what they need it for? And Jack is like, nope, I'm good. Don't care. Like, it's just water. Like, how
The
harmful could
exchange
it
of the
be?
Jack, Daniel, Jack,
Yeah.
Daniel.
But Alar does offer an explanation. The power generated by your heavy water would be used to reinforce our defenses and, in due course, strike back against the enemy. So it is very clear that Jack wants Daniel to shut up, but Daniel continues. So we have Alar and Daniel, and then O'Neill. I'll grab the O'Neill.
I'll be Alar.
Okay.
Surely you can understand our desire to end a war that has lasted for a generation.
No, I do not understand that, Alar. I do. But oh no, I do understand that, Alar. I do. It's just that the Stargate, because it's capable of transporting your people to another world entirely,
But I've told you, thousands of our people are in stasis.
well, take them out of stasis and find a new home.
Then what would all of this have been for? This is our home.
I'm sorry. I don't understand why you would continue to fight a war when there's another choice.
Daniel, you heard the man.
You said yourself that the atmosphere here is poisoned. What is there left to win?
So they are interrupted by some enemy bombers, and the Urandans leave SG-1 to make their decisions, and they got to go deal with this attack. So Daniel, he was a shitbag at the end of season 3. I'll give you that. He kind of had like some. He was not in a good. I don't know. He was going downhill, but he's redeeming himself here. I think he's asking these important questions. That Jack
He's
is
asking
like
the question, Sarah. He's
Yeah.
asking the question.
Yeah. Which is important. And Jack is not. He is like purposefully putting his head in the sand. So we have this bit of, it's like a decent chunk of dialogue actually. It's all of SG-1. So I'll grab the O'Neill,
I got Daniel.
and then Carter Teal can be together because they're not as.
Got it.
So O'Neill says to Daniel, next time I tell you to shut up,
I didn't hear you tell me to shut up.
too subtle for you?
Well, for once, yes. Would you hear me out?
Carter, our standing orders, what are they?
To seek new allies and procure technologies to aid in the defense against the Goa'uld.
And have we carried out those orders?
We came here to help them.
Is that not what we are doing, Daniel Jackson?
No, their whole world is in flames, and we are offering them gasoline. How does that help?
We are in fact offering water.
Thank you.
I was speaking metaphorically.
Well, stop it. It's not fair to Teal'c. The decision's made.
This mission has never had anything to do with helping them, has it? We came here to help ourselves.
Carter, take Daniel back to Hammond. We've struck a deal.
Yes, sir.
You don't give a damn what's going to happen to them. You want their technology, and you're taking advantage of the situation.
Yes, I am, Daniel. They're getting something they want. We're getting everything we want. I don't have a problem with that. Carter?
We're on our way, sir.
This conversation isn't over.
No, you're right, Daniel. It's never over with you. It's always the same damn thing.
This has got nothing to do with me.
Do you even realize what they're offering?
At what price?
So at this point, Jack storms off to the defense room to help.
Sam and Teal'c are just like,
Poor Sam was catching strays, man.
Yep.
Because like he was basically like the way he yelled at her, Carter, like, get him the fuck away from me, please. I give you your orders. Take him, dog walk him back through that Stargate right now. I'm tired of looking at him.
yep.
God. Mom and
So
Dad are
this-
fighting.
This is like the crux of like the conflict of this episode, because you have Jack who is willing to turn a blind eye. Not even turn a blind eye. He's just like, I'm not gonna ask, like, don't ask, don't tell. I don't want to know. They're giving us everything we want, and we have to provide something very fucking basic that is easy for us to provide. When do we ever have a chance like this? Because half the time, when you think of advanced races like the Asgard and the Nox, like they're so far ahead of us, we can't really offer them anything except for dumb ideas that they don't already have. And now we're in a position that like they have all of this advanced shit and all we have to give them is water. Like, this is too good to be true. And I don't want to know anything beyond that. Like, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth or whatever that saying is.
Something with horses and mouths.
Yeah. So I did put in the scene, Jack kind of barks at Sam like, Carter, take his ass back to Earth and get him out of my hair.
Mhm.
So back at the SGC, Sam and Daniel are getting into it as well. And Sam full out says, I'm not defending him. I agree with him. And I think this is another interesting aspect of this episode because you
Mhm.
have Jack on one end of the spectrum, Daniel on the other, and Sam is in like this kind of gray middle area where like she
Mhm.
kind of agrees with both of them. And then Teal'c's just like, unfortunately, the background character that like it's
Mhm.
good that he's there because he exposes, you know, the eugenics of it all, but
Mm-hmm.
poor guy doesn't really have much to do in this episode. So Sam tells Hammond the scoop. Earth gets everything the Uranians have in offer for an exchange of an unspecified amount of heavy water. So we have some dialogue between Carter and Hammond.
There's Daniel in there too. Um,
Oh yeah.
I'll obviously do Daniel. Do you want Carter or do you want Hammy?
I can take Hammond.
Okay.
All right. As you know, sir, heavy water contains deuterium.
Which can be used to make nuclear weapons.
Yes, but they use it to fuel nuclear fusion generators.
Fusion?
According to Alara, the additional power would be enough to stave off defeat.
They're willing to share that technology as well?
Of course they're willing. They're desperate.
Yes, sir, everything. And it is incredible. They're at least 100 years ahead of us, maybe even more. But if we don't act soon, they're going to be overwhelmed.
So Hammond agrees and gets Siler on it, and Hammond notices that Daniel is not happy. So the dialogue continues.
You said yourself that we could not and would not devote the resources necessary to win a war.
Obviously, I was speaking in terms of committing military assets, human life.
But there was a moral issue.
Yes.
But if we can provide the power of all that and more in the form of water, then the moral issue just evaporates?
I shouldn't have to remind you that Apophis is alive and at present capable of wiping us out from the face of the earth without contest. It is the mandate of this organization to make sure that doesn't happen.
We've only ever seen one side of this. Do we even know why they're fighting?
For their lives.
Yes, I was all for saving those lives, but you're about to go way, way, way beyond that. We're about to turn the tide of a world war that we know nothing about against an enemy that we know nothing about. Is that the right way to go about getting their technology? Yes, but is it the right thing to do?
That's a fair question, sir.
That bit of dialogue from Daniel, where he says, we're about to turn the tide of a world war that we know nothing about against an enemy that we know nothing about. That is like perfectly encapsulates what they're doing. And it's completely true and valid. And it's like, we're just going in there to get their technology, but like, what are we really doing? So, kind of like I said before, Sam falls in this weird gray area because she does agree with Jack and she is military, so she does have to follow orders and think of it that way. But she does concede to Daniel and be like, you know what? He's asking some fair questions. So back on Uranda, they're waiting for Sam and Daniel to come back with the heavy water, but in the meantime, Jack and Teal offer to help pilot. Sam and Daniel return with the water, but Alar seems dissatisfied. It's not enough to even last a day, but Sam is like, we got more coming on the way. You know, we got the order in, you know, it'll be out ASAP. Jack and Teal continue to take out enemy bombers, and Alar shows Sam and Daniel the generator that acts as the shield that protects them. Back in the warp room, Jack takes out a bomber and realizes the aircraft was manned. Like, he sees the dude's face as the shit explodes, which is kind of fucked up. And he like jumps out of the pod and he's like, I saw people in that thing. You said they were unmanned. And the woman Pharrell, this is all very like robotic and semantic. She says, I said the reconnaissance craft was unmanned drone. It presented an easy target and therefore a suitable demonstration. But their bombers are manned. You have killed several of our enemies, Colonel, and we are grateful. Weird
Ew
thing
and
number, I don't know what we're on. Oops, we committed a war crime. My bad.
Please.
So back to the dining hall. They toast again, but this time it's to Alar's father. He was the visionary for their nation. And
Hmm.
Alar wants to set some hard terms for their deal. Yolanda will give Earth everything they have to offer for several metric tons of heavy water a year, which is no problem because it's basically seawater. Like, that's
Yeah.
what Sam, like, how 70% of the Earth is covered in it. We'll be good.
Right.
So the Uranians notice that with the new shipment of heavy water, the shields are at full strength, and for the first time in a while, there's silence. There's no shaking. It's like they can rest easy for one night. They don't have to worry about it, and it's like they're totally relieved. So before the deal is struck, Daniel speaks out to ask a question, and Sam does let Jack know that Hammond would like to know as well. So we have some dialogue. It's Alar, Daniel, and like one O'Neill.
All right, I got Daniel.
Alar.
How did this war start?
The first enemy bombs fell on Yolanda in a surprise attack. I was a boy of 9. I remember that night. I remember the floor of the room in which my father had sequestered me shook with each explosion. I remember knowing that each bomb that got through meant that another building, another home, another street in the city above me was gone. That is how this war began, Doctor.
And for that, we have only your word.
3 of our best men died attempting to reach Earth through your Stargate.
That was an accident.
And we have only your word.
Gotcha.
Mm-mm.
Very true, though. Like,
Mm.
I get it. That was a good one, Alar. You held that up your
Mhm.
sleeve.
And that was quite the sob story intro to like start on. Like you had that scripted. How
It was
the war
rehearsed. It
started.
definitely was rehearsed.
It was a dark and rainy night. Like,
it was definitely the sanitized historical version. You know, like
Oh,
a lot of
God,
our
yeah.
history books are sanitized.
so much.
So Jack is getting increasingly pissed off. Daniel then asks how, he wants to know more about the enemy, and Alar gets cagey, and he is evading the question and asking Jack, like, is this normal, my friend? Like, because he kind of like senses that Jack is willing to do whatever, and he's willing to strike the deal. So he kind of defers to Jack and is like, is this normal? And Jack straight up tells Daniel to shut up. Teal'c even is surprised and he quirks an eyebrow. Like, for him to reprimand Daniel in front of everyone like that. So Sam asks if she can stay back to learn more about the fusion generators while Jack goes back to tell Hammond what this deal is going to be. On the way back to the Stargate, Alar congratulates Jack on shooting down an enemy bomber and asks Jack if he would like to try it again next time. And Jack is like not enthusiastic at all. He's like, I'm good, thanks. No, thank you.
Jack's just mad about everything.
Mhm.
The way that Sam's like, hey, Dad, do you mind if I like hang back and look at these things? But he's just been,
Mhm.
reprimanding his other child or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Like, so like,
God.
it's very dad moment. It's very
Yeah.
dad.
Very, very.
But I also don't want to think about it like that because we're going to get into like some really shitty episodes.
It's fine. It's fine for now. It's fine for now.
Some
So,
daddy.
on the way back to the Stargate, Alar, okay, I already said that part. And Jack is like, I'm not doing that pod shit again. First of all, I don't want to be a vegetable. And second of all, like, I don't like not being told shit.
I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
sorry.
Everything's fine.
I'm sorry.
Why you gotta make it nasty, Christina? You did this last episode with pressing
Because
buttons and shit.
Because you just talked about Jack being Sam's daddy, and just I didn't start it. I just
No,
walked
that
through
was
the
that
door.
was that was on me.
Y'all opened it. I walked through it.
I'll take that one. I'll take that hit. It's my fault. I'm sorry.
You nasty. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, we are all adults here.
All right.
Like I said,
So
y'all started it.
Alar kind of looks at Jack and he's like, hey, maybe like when you come back, don't bring Teal'c with you. And there's this bit of dialogue. Do you guys want to read that between Alar and O'Neill?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take Alar.
Okay.
I guess. Well, yeah. It's
Yeah.
not what he said, it's what he is.
Well, he's different. I'll grant you that.
Not like us.
Right.
So Alar leads Sam away to the generators. Just as Daniel starts to dial the gate, Jack stops him and is like, "We're pumping the brakes on this shit. I was wrong and I fucked up, and I only realized that now because they were mean to my bestie Teal'c. So now
let's
I want
pause.
you to start snooping and ask all the questions."
So can we pause and bring everyone up to speed? For those who may not have watched this episode and for a long time, or we're speaking with an implied like understanding of what this episode talks about. Obviously, it's a racial thing because everyone on Yuranda is white. White as white can be. So just bringing
Pasty
everyone up
white.
to speed in case you haven't gotten there yet. We want to not leave you further behind. It is now implied to be a skin color issue at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's
continue.
slowly,
And it
it's a slow
becomes even
reveal.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alar is showing Sam how their stuff works, and Sam asks how long they were planning to stay underground. And Alar tells her until the air is free of poison. And he steps away, and Sam continues to look at this console with like all the schematics. So Jack and Teal'c, now remember, Alar thinks they went back to Earth, but they're fucking snooping around this whole like complex. And they're poking around, and Jack asks Teal'c his opinion of Alar. And Teal'c admits he thinks Alar is hiding something. And Jack asks, "What do you think?" And Teal'c was like, "I don't fucking know, dude. He's hiding it. Like, I don't know." So they break into one of those stasis pod chambers and they begin to like flip through the console that shows all the pictures of the people that are in stasis. And Jack realizes they are all the same, aka white. I was trying to look. Some of them have like darker hair, but they're mostly blonde. Like,
They look very related too. It's more than just like white. Like they look.
It is
some of
very
near,
neo-Nazi.
Sweet Home Alabama kind of looking. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Daniel finds Pharrell and begins asking her some questions about the enemy. So do you guys want to read that?
Sure. I'll be Pharrell. Sometimes we call them breeders.
Breeders?
How they reproduce indiscriminately with no regard for genetic purity.
Really? So basically they come in all shapes and sizes?
Yes.
Colors?
Yes.
It's getting more insidious. Like, wait a minute. So back with Sam and Alar is explaining how they store data and how they'll have to figure out how to like transfer it. He holds up like this crystal thing. He's like, "This is where we store it all. We'll have to figure out how to give it to you." And Sam is like looking at these pipes that extend from the lowest levels right up to the surface. And she's like confused because she's like, "You said the atmosphere was poisoned. It doesn't make any sense." And then an alarm sounds, and Alar leaves to tend to it before he can explain. He's being cagey again. He's like, "Oh, there's something over here. I gotta
Saved
BRB."
by the bell.
Yeah. So Daniel and Jack meet up again in the war room and share their hot gossip, and they realize now that the Irondans are the ones who started the war. Alar asks where the heavy water is, but Jack stalls and is like, "Whoops, it's running a little late, but Teal'c and I can help pilot this shit in the meantime," and they jump in a pod. So we have some dialogue. It's Carter, Daniel, and Alar, and I'll get the Alar.
Sure. It was a preemptive strike. Your enemy, when they began bombing, they were trying to stop you. And then Carter turns to Daniel. The Urandans built this place long before the war started. They planned it from the beginning.
Right, but how did they expect to win a war from underground?
There are these enormous gas pipes that run from holding tanks underneath this facility right up to the surface.
And the surface is poisoned.
They didn't just start a war. They were trying to exterminate them.
It was his vision. My father saw the breeders were spreading across the face of Uranda like a plague. Millions of them. We don't know how many of them managed to survive, but they do in spite of our best efforts. Contact your General Hammond. Tell him we need that fuel immediately. And Daniel's like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that, my friend."
Yeah, not even a little bit. Nope.
We're not doing that. So this is a predetermined, pre-thought out genocide of this other group of people because they are not eugenicists and they, they don't breed. What is the term? They breed indiscriminately, which is a really fucked up way of saying it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Daniel
Mm.
refuses. They hold Daniel and Sam at gunpoint. And then Jack and Teal'c turn their drones on the Urondans and they help the enemy bombers. Which I wonder what the enemy bombers what they were thinking when this happened. They were like, "Oh shit, they're helping us? Like, what's going on? Like, let's take advantage of this."
Mhm.
So when they realize it, like Pharrell and Alar, they're like, they're striking, they're turning against us. And Sam and Daniel are able to break away from their captors as Jack continues to aid the other side. Alar points a weapon at Teal'c, he points a weapon at Jack, but Teal'c like gets him in the Vulcan nerve pinch and just like
It was
takes it out of
perfection.
his hand.
You're expecting him to like bend that gun in half or something too.
Yeah.
It feels like it's that sort of moment.
It's like very slow, and like Alar's a little wimpy bitch, and he's like, "Ugh, my arm." Like,
I'm fragile.
yeah. So, as his final act of defiance, Jack crashes his drones into the facility, and SG-1 make for the gate. Alar calls out that it could be all theirs, and Jack tells him, "Don't follow us."
Mm-hmm.
The bunker is falling apart. Pharrell is crushed under some falling rocks, and Alar sees the generator explode. That special generator that shields them.
Mm-hmm.
So, Alar kept correcting it to alarm. Alar chases them down the tunnel. He's unarmed. And he shouts out, "I could teach you everything I know. Just let me come with you, please." And Jack gives him this cold ass death stare.
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel and Teal'c have gone through ahead of them. It's just Jack and Sam, kind of like left behind, listening and hearing what Alar is saying. So Jack gives him the death stare, and Hay and Carter go through the gate. On the other side, Jack tells Hammond to close the iris. We see on Walter's screen the impact. Alar tried to come through, and he was killed by the iris. And we have this last bit of dialogue between Hammond and O'Neill. You guys got that?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I'll be hammy.
Yep.
I take it, Colonel, that you were unable to procure any of the Urondan technology.
That's correct, sir.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Don't be.
We'll debrief in 1 hour.
Yes, sir.
So I need to give more context. And me and Rebecca were talking about this before you got on.
Before we
Cristina.
started, yeah.
For some perspective, Daniel and Teal'c are already at the bottom of the ramp. So Sam and Jack are like right at the iris.
Mhm.
Sam is staring at Jack with the most incredible look on her face. She doesn't even turn when Hammond is talking and telling them, like, we'll debrief in an hour. She is just
Mhm.
staring at him, and it could be interpreted in so many ways. But I read it as like, holy shit, what did we just do? What did
Mhm.
you, my commanding officer, just do? What did I let you do without
Mhm.
speaking up? It was so fucking good. And like Amanda Tapping, kudos, because like I could not stop looking at her at this scene, her body language and everything.
Yeah, you could tell it's so different, especially because she doesn't turn around. This is what we were talking about, of the fact that like
Mhm.
usually Sam, like Hammond starts talking. Sam's like,
Mhm.
that's my big time commanding officer. I need to address him. And she
Big
doesn't
Daddy.
turn around. She does not turn around at all. She
Yeah.
just keeps staring at him. It was a really great moment.
Mhm.
Unbroken, like
Yeah.
does not break eye contact.
Mm.
So I remember when I first watched this episode, it probably was one that I missed like the first time around when I was watching it like growing up. And I remember watching this and I was like, holy shit, like I need to sit here for a minute. What did I just watch? I must have like, did I forget about this episode? Did I sleep on it the first time? And I was like, that's one, I don't care about this episode. Because the way this ended was so good. The way like the shocked look on Sam's face, the cold, like uncaring look on Jack's face. He didn't give a fuck what he just did.
No, he was pissed. Like, I feel like he did the pendulum swing. For as much energy was put into the like, we're gonna get all this stuff, that tonal shift, his energy just went full the other way. Like
He course corrected and had to swing the pendulum all the way to the other side before it could even out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of our episode.
It is.
So, Let's look at some comments.
We got
Comment
some
check.
comments. We got some comments. And I think they all make sense for where they fall while we were talking. So John's up first. Hey, I just met you and this is crazy, but here's my number, so save me maybe. Solid comment.
Yeah.
It's the napkin across the bar. Like, here's
my number, girl.
Here's my
Hit me
number,
so
girl.
good.
Yep.
Slide into my DMs, please.
Get in there.
Lo made a comment about the other dude sitting in that chair. He's living that gamer lifestyle.
Truly. Where's the Mountain Dew and Doritos?
Right. That's all he needs. He's just good to
He's
go.
got that Baja Blast on IV, you know?
Totally. 100%. John again with the Teal'c, when I drink, my Primtug gets mad.
I bet it does have to do with the symbiote, though.
Probably. That and like, yeah, the symbiote, and then the like, they're super strong with their immune system, but also not like,
yeah,
you know, also
I'd
all
imagine
over
it'd
the
be
place.
like drinking while pregnant. Like,
yeah,
don't
you
do
don't
it.
wanna. Did you know, fun fact, real quick, when I sold alcohol at Giant, like when I worked at the grocery store, we sold alcohol there. We could not like stop a pregnant woman from drinking. It's against the law. It's discrimination, at least in my state, because pregnancy is considered a disability. We cannot say anything if she could be 9 months pregnant and crack open a 6-pack, and we could just be like, well, not my problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's an interesting like two sides of this next comment. So we have Nell saying, this is an ongoing pattern with O'Neill. He'll work pretty hard to avoid seeing the catch in a situation, but if he's forced to see it, he will change direction. And then we have Jet saying wait, no, not that one. Hold on. Where is it? I had it. Oh, here we go. I disagree. I think Jack is always skeptical and cautious at first. It's one of his best qualities. So like I feel like you could read that in a couple of different ways in this episode. And I see both of them actually.
I think he was skeptical to the point of like, I know some fuck shit is probably going on, but I don't want to know what it is. And I'm going to purposely look the other way. Like he knew everything wasn't on the up and up, and he was choosing to look away until they made fun of his friend Teal'c.
I think the argument could be made, and like we wouldn't like Daniel was the one screaming for all of us on a lot of this, but I think the argument could be made that because he was being so loud, I can definitely see like why Jack would be like, hey, shut up. Like either way, just like shut up. Because they're gonna like show themselves to us one way or the other, you know. So let's see. Mara said, did I do this one? No, I didn't do this one. Jack's doing an impression of the ostrich this episode.
100%.
Yeah.
What was that other comment from Jet?
Oh, I'm getting to it. It's a good comment. Mara says, I wonder when the enemy wins if they ever found the Stargate and went on to explore.
I thought about that too.
Yeah. And then the last Jet comment. The ending part between Carter and O'Neill is magical. And it is. Like there's just like
so intense
electricity going on. And not in the like good shippy way, but the like it's there, but it's not in a good way. It's
like, whoa.
Well, it was such an intense episode because so let's go back. I'm gonna just not put on the daddy hat, but like put on the like. I mean, you gotta think this whole episode. The whole episode, he's like Carter, like really leaning on her to like
back him up,
to be like Carter, I need you, and like that is very much a like driving connector between relationships when you have to constantly respond to that on command and be like yes, and so when you go through that and you're following them one way and then they have to switch course and you have to just like obey, you lose a little bit of autonomy of like yourself in there. And in some cases, like respecting someone enough to just go the pendulum with them without getting aggravated, like there is a lot of admiration that comes in that space and a lot of realization, I think, in yourself when you're like, did I just follow them unapologetically through this whole dynamic. And if you realize you did that, like I'm sure Carter, like for me when I saw that scene at the end, to me that read like she was going, oh shit, I just went through that whole thing and was 100% unconditionally like supportive of him.
But
ooh, what does that mean?
She doesn't
Like-
have a choice though. She doesn't get a vote. Like he is her commanding officer.
But there are other times where she will voice herself. Like, and in this case, she really, I just took it more of like, and I mean that in a positive way of an admiration, or like sometimes like that scene at the end where I could see that being like, let me think through this real quick. Because even off camera, even when he wasn't around, she still kind of, she did side with him. She didn't go, well, but he's our officer. Like I have to, like, she was in it, like truly supporting kind of what his thought process was.
She saw all the heat that Daniel was catching, and she's like, I don't want any of that smoke. Like,
Yeah, no.
Don't
No.
nobody want any of that smoke.
yeah.
We do have a question, a prompt, if you will.
Mhm.
If they had taken the data core back, would it be unethical to have used the tech?
A lot of
Yeah.
unethical shit happened in this episode on both sides. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. What Jack did is probably a war crime. Like,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
like I said at the beginning, like before we started again, it's like we did a war crime to offset this other war crime. Like it's just war crime. It is oops all war crimes. Like this whole episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, but like it would have been unethical, but compared to all the other unethical shit, maybe a little less like
I feel like it would have been unethical, but I also feel like that wouldn't have stopped the American government from using it, you know?
No.
and let's be so for real right now because the US government
yeah.
is not above housing and helping war criminals
Mm-mm.
because
No.
like if it was left up to people above Jack, I bet they would have helped Alar. And
Yeah.
if Alar came through the gate, they would have been like, all right, you can live here, I guess, but we want all your knowledge. Like that would have definitely happened.
Yeah.
So the way that Jack made that executive decision and was like, no, I'm not even going to give him the chance to plead his
Yeah.
case to Earth because I know like people above me would jump on that chance.
Absolutely.
So themes and discussion. I put in a screenshot. There's a wonderful article on the companion about this episode. It's called The Other Side and Befriending the Bad Guys. SG-1's Other Side asks us to weigh up the benefits against the consequences of supporting the wrong side. So it's a good read. I think it's free if you subscribe to the newsletter, so you don't have to like pay for it. But I would definitely check it out. It's a good read.
It's by David Reed, actually. Is that I'm
He's of
pretty
Gate
sure
World,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, nice.
So
Gotta go check that out.
yeah. So I have a quote from Amanda Tapping, and I was telling Rebecca about this before we started. I remember this from my Tumblr days. No, I will not give you my Tumblr user ID. That was from many, many years ago. It's very cringe. Anyway,
Now I really need to know, but
no.
we'll talk about it later.
I remember reading this and I couldn't find it anywhere else. So I literally had to dig through Tumblr to find this quote because it was so fucking good. And I think about it every time I watch this episode. So this is Amanda Tapping. She says, in that final scene in The Other Side, the most important objective for me was to convey that sense of, oh my God, what have we done? I feel very strongly as Sam and as Amanda that we don't have the right to be judge, jury, and executioner to any culture. While we may disagree with people's politics, we are not in the business of deciding what is right for the people of any planet we visit. Now, certainly genocide or the eradication of people simply because of the color of their skin is so obviously wrong. We all know that. We, in our own history, are still dealing with the evils of that. But does SG-1 have the right to knowingly kill a man for this, as his way of life is being destroyed? Could we have not brought him to trial on his planet after the dust had settled, or heard both sides of the story of that war and made an intelligent decision based off of that? Also, what gives us the right to make that kind of decision? Long story short, I wanted Carter to show disappointment in O'Neill and the fact that she questioned his judgment. While I disagree with their war and why it was being fought, I still struggle with our final judgment of him.
Ooh.
Yep, that is a very good point because they have
It
had
is.
that happen before where they're like, you know, it's not up to us to tell you to like, you know,
Yeah.
Mm.
convict you of something.
And it's so true. The point that she makes is like,
Mhm.
we never met anybody from the other side. They could have been doing fucked up shit too. We will never know.
Yep.
So we kind of went from blindly trusting Alar and his people to blindly trusting the other side without knowing anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is such a good episode because it is all over the place morally gray. There is no right and wrong. I mean, there are very clear wrongs in there, but like a lot of what SG-1 did is morally gray. So we kept using the term eugenics. For people who don't know what it is, I have the definition. It is the study of how to arrange reproduction within human population to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. Developed largely by Sir Francis Galton as a method of improving the human race. Eugenics was increasingly discredited as unscientific and racially biased during the 20th century, especially after the adoption of its doctrines in the Nazis in order to justify their treatment of Jews, disabled people, and other minority groups. So it is like natural selection, but evil. Make it evil. Like they are purposefully eradicating people they deem undesirable, and a lot of it is linked to racism and prejudice. It has nothing to do with anything actually of like, let's make people stronger, better, smarter. It's like, let's make people less like this group of people and get rid of this group of people. So the thing I thought about when I think about eugenics, ironically, I think of Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger because she was a known eugenicist. And a lot of like anti-choice people are so quick to use this as a gotcha to be like, well, did you know your fucking savior, Margaret Sanger of Planned Parenthood, she was actually a bad person. And you know what? She fucking was. And that's not the gotcha they think it is to me because I know she was. She did very horrific things to women in Puerto Rico, but testing stuff there because they could not legally test it in the United States. But let me introduce people to the concept of two things can be true at the same time.
Yep.
Margaret Sanger can have done some abhorrent shit, but also have had a positive impact when it comes to women's healthcare and women's reproductive care. Because with birth control, hormonal birth control, it gave women such power and agency over their lives to be able to control when they want to become mothers or if they want to become mothers at all. That cannot be overlooked. But also, all of the terrible shit that she did can't be overlooked. So it's not all black and white. And yeah, like there are people who did terrible shit in history, but they also did shit that benefited people too. And it's a really complex, nuanced thing to look at. Obviously, the Holocaust, which was mentioned in like the eugenics definition, but like this is a very clear parallel to like Nazis and Nazi Germany and their eradication of people that they deem undesirable. This also reminded me of Aki's, I think it was Aki's trope in the trope episode, the secret evil trope.
Secret evil. Yes.
Where we meet a group of people and they seem cool and chill, but like underneath it all, they're secretly bad and not good and very evil.
Well, that
like that Star Trek episode, Strange New Worlds, where they're like, we use children as batteries for our utopia machine or whatever the fuck.
Well, I mean, it's like what's going on right now. Like, hello, like what's going on right now? I don't know if we are in the space to like super talk about that, but I can't bring up. I personally can't bring up Holocaust and not bring up Gaza. Like, I cannot not bring up this space. Like, it calls the same thing. It's this group of people who are put in this place where it's going to take a lot of deconstruction for a lot of people to realize, wait a second, you are that secret evil, and holy fuck, how deep does it go? And like, once you start going down the rabbit hole, you gotta brace for what you're gonna have to stomach, because it ain't great. It's not good, but it's like, I can't not like call out like
No, it's fine.
that.
I was waiting
Yeah.
for the time.
Like
I was waiting for the moment.
Yeah, because it's goes into the same thing. Two things can be true at once. Like you can definitely be support of like not supporting like anti-Semitism, but also realizing there is a fucking genocide going on right now, and like this shit, it just stirs up all those emotions.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I can't in good faith not bring that up. We don't have to
Yeah.
go down this as a whole subplot, but I need to let
There's
the
just
record
there.
state
It's like,
how I
yeah,
feel
no,
about
it
that.
needs to be stated, but it is definitely one of those things that like we could talk about it for a very, very long time.
Y'all can come to
and
my TikTok if you want to see my thoughts
yeah.
on it. You can go there and see, like, but in that same space, just want to show that solidarity, because
Yeah,
yikes.
absolutely. Solidarity.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think
Put
what
my name on something even. Like I signed my name to something the other day. So yeah.
I think what gets me the most is
Mhm.
like hearing the discourse on whatever platform you're on, whatever news channel you're on, and they're like, well, what needs to happen? It's like, really, bitch, you gonna come out with the gate with the solution to like one of the oldest it's one of the oldest conflicts in history. Like it goes back really fucking far. And like if you, one person on the internet, have all the answers, sure. Like if it was that easy, it would have been solved.
Mhm.
So something else
Agreed.
I noticed while researching this episode
Oh,
was there
God.
were some unhinged reviews on IMDb.
I'm glad
Yes.
I'm glad we're getting to that after that little sidebar of things that we just
Yes.
had too. No, this is good.
So I included 2 unhinged ones and then a nice palate cleanser at the end that
Okay,
really
good.
just like encapsulate.
Can we like,
We might need to break some of this up because I don't think I can read all of
can
it.
we like rotate and take turns on this? Yeah. How do you
Yeah.
want to do it?
Let me read. I'll read the very first one that's 3 out of 10 because that one's kind of brief, but
Okay.
although brief,
Again,
equally unhinged.
these are all reviews found on IMDb about this specific episode, correct?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
Mhm.
just for everybody out there. Yeah.
And I'm not going to include the username because that's not important. They don't deserve to be named. Anyway, this first one is a 3 out of 10. Generous, actually. Generous 3 out of 10. I started watching this series from the first episode in 1997 and found it pleasantly interesting. Here, season 4 was filmed in 2000 during an election year. Hollywood so whips out white supremacy storyline. I was wondering how the show would change after 9/11, and this is before that even happened. Clinton was still president, so the good times and the old were still rolling. This person writes terribly. I feel like I'm having a stroke reading this. And we were innocent. This plotline also introduces the concept of endless war. Here in 2000, when they talked about being at war for a generation, I thought Afghanistan when Jackson asked who the endless war enemies was. So that was a weird. Yeah.
That's a really weird review.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm not 100% sure exactly what they're trying to say with that too. Like,
I don't really know either. I do like the what really gave it the, it was an election year and Hollywood whips out a white supremacy storyline. That was
yeah.
with a nice touch.
Mm.
This next one is like a novel. So we're definitely
Mm.
gonna have to split this up.
Wait, is this all the same thing? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I even cut out a bunch where they recap the episode. So that's where
Oh,
it
I
says
think you
insert
duplicated
episode.
a paragraph too, though. Like
Yeah.
one is duplicated, but that's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
I'm fixing it right now.
Okay.
All right. You want 1 or 2, Rebecca?
I'll do 2.
Okay.
We also have the part above 1.
I'll start
yeah.
that. I'll start.
Yeah.
I'll get into it and then you guys can
Set
take
the
over.
tone, set the scene.
This is September 14th, 2020, right?
Very recent.
That's
pretty recent.
Yeah.
Let me try and put it in my troll voice. I absolutely loathe this episode. I hate it so much I lost sleep over it the night after I first watched it. Insert episode recap that was very fucking long and explained everything that we just went through. Now, taken at face value, this sounds like SG-1 accidentally trusts space Nazis and then realizes they were wrong, so they kill all the space Nazis. The problem with that is the writers were horrendously incompetent and making the Urandans evil enough villains to warrant such destruction. I'll list my reasonings.
Okay. The Urandans. 1.1. The Urandans are not the generation that planned the destruction of the breeders. Their leader was only a small boy who revered his father, their original dictator figure who plotted the breeders' destruction, when the war began. Which is what the writers used to immediately build sympathy for his character at the beginning of the episode. All the Urandans are of the second generation manning this bunker with the beliefs of their founders, while the rest of their population is in cryosleep. The current Urandans were only children when the war started and have been indoctrinated in their beliefs their entire lives. Their only purpose in life is to finally win the war that has been so devastating for their people. As a viewer, I was left sympathetic to the current situation of the generation of Urandans, because it was really no fault of their own. This awful history and their current situation was inherited from the sins of the previous generation. And because of this, I cannot feel any sort of happiness when O'Neill blows up the entire base, genociding all their people, who we see screaming and dying as the bunker falls apart. If the writers had done this correctly, SG-1 should have met the first generation who were the architects of the genocide against breeders. Then there wouldn't have been the conflicting sympathy that had been built earlier in the episode. SG-1 would have been tricked into helping people who were devising a genocide. Then perhaps destroying them to put a stop to it would seem more justified to the audience. However, SG-1 was a generation too late.
Can I interject here?
Yes,
because
please do. Let's talk about this for a
this
second.
is basically
thoughts.
saying my mom and dad were racist, so it's okay that I'm a racist too. That's exactly what I'm getting.
Not
from
my
this.
fault. La 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 la.
It's also very much a I wanted this writing to be way more straightforward and less nuanced, because the fact that it is the next generation adds like a whole other level to why it's so gray area, in the episode. So this person is completely missing the point of it being the next
This
generation.
wasn't easy enough for my little brain to digest.
Like,
but it's like it is an interesting point that it is the second generation and they're not the people that devised this way of living, but they do uphold it, and therefore they still uphold those beliefs. Like, that doesn't make them
still
any
on
less,
them.
That's still on them.
They clearly talk about it the same way, for sure. Like,
there's no work to deconstruct or change or anything. So like, he is right. It is the second generation, and they're a generation removed. But okay, like
as
like
we're
saying,
like the whole comparison with like the Holocaust, like like this was in the like 2000, so the next generation of folks,
Real quick, Lo says it's giving I'm projecting. Just a little bit.
Just a tad.
Well, it continues. Rebecca,
I'm ready. Let's do it. This is a book. This is a book right here.
They really went on. They lost sleep over this, guys. They lost sleep over this episode.
Sleep, so we're honoring that by reading this review. We never meet the breeders. As quickly as O'Neill trusts the Urandans, he turns on them when he discovers that they hold ideas he doesn't like. But who is to say that eugenics were wrong? What? Sorry. When I initially watched the episode, I thought the Urandan woman explaining the breeders to Daniel was going to explain the breeders a bit more. I thought that when she said they had bred indiscriminately, maybe she meant that they were horrible inbreeders and had become like vicious, genetically deformed people. The Urandans were evidently very superior in technology comparatively, so this is not a stretch at all. However, upon learning only that little bit about the breeders, SG-1 doesn't even ask any more questions about them. They immediately halt their treaty while they are still present among these desperate people, and then O'Neill blows up their base. What the fuck? There are so many questions here. If my theory was correct, for instance, then perhaps they needed a eugenics program to correct what the breeders had done. But we don't know that because SG-1 immediately assumes that they are space Nazis, as we are meant to. Also, I'd like to know more about the breeders' history. Are they really the good guys? Perhaps they have done even more. Have they essentially said this already? Perhaps they've done even more atrocious things than the Urandans have done. Maybe the Urandans have reason to fear the breeders and feel that they needed to be destroyed by them before they themselves were destroyed. However, we'll never know because SG-1 didn't ask that. We never meet the breeders to know for a certainty if they were being targeted wrongfully or if the situation was more complex. The writers didn't give us enough details to make this judgment, so I ultimately cannot feel much empathy for the breeders who I haven't seen and do not know. I have, however, met the Urandans and have more reason to have sympathy for and trust them than the breeders, which is probably not what the writers intended.
Pause. Can we
Okay,
pause?
yes.
Okay.
I'm like, what am I
Tell me
reading right
right
now?
now.
What am I reading?
Hold up. Can
They
I
lost
say?
me.
Okay, say it, and then I got
They
it before I
lost
lose
me at,
it.
but who's to say the eugenics were wrong?
Like,
And I like how they go
But,
to like,
like,
well, maybe
okay.
they were just a bunch of like inbred hillbilly gross people. Like, it's implied when they kind of don't like Teal'c. That's not what it is.
right.
Okay. I promise you, this person is a believer in God and Jesus Christ Almighty. Again, everyone, you have your religion. I respect you. Okay. But the fucking irony of this person saying that he can't have empathy for something he hasn't seen, but he better can empathize with the thing that's right in front of him that is right there. So, like, I hate this like contradiction in people where they're like, if I can't see them or I can't see it, I have no emotion towards it. Yeah, you fucking worship a god you've never seen. Explain
That
yourself.
cognitive dissonance
You
is a
see
bitch,
science
man.
and you deny it. Like, you see science, but nope, you see it, you don't believe it. But like when it comes to people and like humanitarian well-being, you like code switching there, that's a little bit frustrating. So
Yeah.
that was entertaining.
Yeah, I like
Ooh.
how they also point out the Urandans were
Oof.
like way more advanced, so like I guess they were better, you know?
Oh,
Do we
my
finish? Do we finish this
It
review out?
continues.
Okay.
I'm good to continue.
Yeah,
So
keep going.
So ultimately, these Urandans are not responsible for the earlier genocide and were only trying to win the war their forefathers started, which doesn't make them heinously evil, just stuck in an inherited position. What the fuck? We
Oh my
also
god.
don't know anything about the breeders, so it is difficult to know. Again, with the we don't know anything about the breeders. How many times has this person said this? Um, so it's difficult to know how much of a tragedy their attempted extermination really was, which means I don't even know how bad the Urandan forefathers really were. This episode failed to show me that SG-1 made the correct moral judgment in this case. In fact, I would like to see O'Neill rot in a prison cell for the rest of his life after this episode. Another thing that bothered me was Daniel's stupidity in this episode. He told the Urandans they weren't going to help them anymore while he was still on the planet. How did you think they were going to respond, Nimrod? Being offered a collection of all their technical knowledge. Anyone with a functioning brain would have said, gee, I don't like what these people are up to, but I need this technology. I will take it back to my world with the rest of my team, and then we'll send a transmission to the Urandans telling them that the deal is off because we don't like their war. So he's also just like, I just want to rob people. I literally want to smash something when I think about how dumb this was. Lastly, O'Neill's murder of the Urandan leader after he offered to share all of his knowledge with them in exchange for sanctuary was just childish and short-sighted. This was a hateful episode indeed.
The way that they keep harping on like we don't know anything about the breeders, which the fact that he's calling them or they, I don't even know who wrote this, but the fact that they're referring to them as the breeders is kind of like icky. I would just call them the other side since that's like what the episode is called. But they're harping like we don't know anything about the breeders, and it's like yes, that's the whole point, my brother. Like that's what makes this so interesting is that there's so much gray area.
Yeah, so their lives are only important if you know them, if you've met them. Like how many times do we see that happen in the world? Oh,
And the fact
I don't know them, so like I don't really care what's going on over
Jesus.
there, you know? Like
and then
That's
like
stupid.
So ultimately, these Urandans are not responsible for the earlier genocide. They still continue it. So they very much are responsible because they continue to uphold that system, that oppressive, genocidal system. They're very much responsible for it.
Yeah.
And it's giving like,
Mm,
I don't even want to get into it, but like, it's just
yeah. Mm,
giving like, yeah, my ancestors might have owned slaves, but I didn't. So
Yeah. That's
yeah.
exactly what it's giving.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
The comments are not disappointing. People are like, we're still going with this.
Like,
Yes.
what do we have? Do we have any good responses?
Let's see. Mara says, I can't read unsaid context for shit. But even I know everything goes over my everything goes over my head saw the racism happening. Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's
yeah.
willful blindness at this
Yep.
point. They were like trying so hard to not understand.
John says, because only people who are advanced in technology are the right people. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
Obviously.
And then let's rob people. 2020 quote of the year.
Mm.
Perfect.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
So damn, I hope
Mm-mm.
this person can get some sleep at night after
That
watching
was
this
really
episode.
that was really hard to read out loud.
Unhinged.
That
Like,
was
it was like I don't like that I'm reading these words right now. Like, it's that bad.
Mm.
It was really, really bad.
So I do have a little palate cleanser.
Yes,
A 10
please.
out of 10 review
you.
from someone on
Whew.
IMDb.
We
The
need that
best
comparison.
episode of the entire series. This was from June
Mm.
11th, 2021. I can understand why a lot of people hate this episode. It's a reminder of them realizing how much the world despises people like them. That people make that makes people like that uncomfortable. An episode against racism receives this much hate? Gee, I wonder why. I'm so glad the Nazis lost. I know many that are not.
Wow.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
What else? Does anyone
I
have
don't-
anything else?
I don't know if I can like stomach what else. Like,
Yeah, I just
ooh.
I going back to it was really interesting to watch it in the context of everything that is literally happening right now in the world. Because it feels even more relevant than it did probably in 2000, you know. And that's sad that it's like 24 years later and we're still like,
Things really haven't changed.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I know that's a downer of a last thought, but it's true. It's like the whole time I was watching it, you know, you
Yeah,
can't escape the current events.
I do really appreciate that this is one of, and maybe this is why it's my favorite one, because there are so many episodes where like the SGC and SG-1, we're the good guys, we're saving the world, we're never wrong, we always do the morally right thing, even though we report to the US military who does questionable things and gives questionable orders, but you know, we're the good guys. And it's so very black and white in many episodes in many circumstances, and we finally get an episode that is not all black and white and is very complex and nuanced. And yeah, the Urandans were doing some fucked up shit, but just like Amanda's quote, like, we don't have the right to be judge, jury, and executioner to any person's culture. Like,
Yeah.
No, we
were there
definitely
other
don't.
solutions that could have happened?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And I like that it wasn't tied up in a neat little bow, and it does leave you thinking like, holy shit, what else could have been done?
Yeah. I
What
bet a
would
lot of
happen?
people that don't like it probably don't like it for that exact reason, which to me is why it's one of the best episodes. Is that, you know, that idea of things are not wrapped up well. Our heroes did not necessarily do the right thing and then didn't necessarily do the right thing again, like in the same episode, you know?
Yeah.
And all of that nuance, like that review guy, you know, like
Mhm.
clearly didn't want any nuance in his or her or their storytelling. Yeah.
But stories like that are boring when it's like, we're the good guys and they're the bad guys, and this is very straightforward. It's like
Mhm.
we've heard that story many, many times. So for us to get like a different perspective of like, hey, we both did some wrong things here. How do we reconcile with that?
I do think the one critique I have of it, and I think Lo made the comment of like, it's definitely tells the importance of storytelling. I think the thing that might bother people is that there was no lesson in this. While it was ambiguous in the kind of like it went so wrong this way and then so wrong that way. We never saw anyone be held accountable to like take a learning or a lesson away. Where I think in some other deeper, harder episodes, we have a lesson. There's like a takeaway that like kind of goes, okay, acknowledged and forward. But here, other than Amanda tapping is like channeling through Carter, which now makes me like, because that quote makes so much more sense about like that viewing at the end. Like, other than that one space, there's no other space held for. Because even Daniel, we don't hear Daniel say anything like, "What the fuck was that?" And that's the resolve that like does feel a little bit like, ooh.
I see that, and I will raise you. What if the fact that there was no lesson is the lesson? The fact that not everything in real life is going to be wrapped up in a neat little bow, and not everything makes sense, and terrible, awful shit happens, and there's no way that we can explain it away or justify it, and we have to live with the choices that we make.
Totally.
I think that is the lesson, that there is no lesson.
You know how we get mad a lot of the time with the ends of these episodes that don't have like a denouement moment, like they don't have that. This was the perfect situation for not having one, you know, for that purpose.
So it worked out perfectly.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Sarah. I'm just saying from those who are so angered at it, is that because
it's
there
not
was
a
no
neat and
lesson.
tidy. It's not a neat and tidy episode. Yeah.
No, because you think you're going to get the redemption arc when they switch the sides and go, oh, but you're not.
No.
It just goes the other way.
Yep.
All right. What do we have
Well,
next?
then, that was a chunky episode. It's only going to get more from here, everyone, because season 4.
Yeah, baby. Grades is next.
We have upgrades. Everybody, just buckle up because
it's getting bumpy.
It's getting shippy.
We're going to be insufferable, just so you know. Like,
oh yeah, the
warned.
whole chemistry thing that I've been posting on our Instagram is going to continue. So the people that are making the comments about how like they feel like it was so forced, just hang out because it's just
haters beware.
Haters beware.
Just be ready for me in my daddy commentary to the both of you, because you guys bring the ship, I bring the
internet has ruined the word daddy. I refuse to hear it. Do not.
That's why
think of
a
different word.
Lost my shit earlier.
No.
Think of a different word.
No, you guys said daddy. No, I'll find something. I will find something. But on this note,
said
and then we
dad. Leave. There was no daddy until
I said daddy.
You said fine. Daddy.
Yeah.
But okay, I'll leave you guys on this note and then we'll close it out. But there is a video that went around about this person who went to a craft store and they saw this little sign that like said like daddy's little girl, and they 100% were like, oh my god, they have like kink core here, like this is awesome, I'm gonna hold it in my room. And like it was not clicking to them until they showed it to someone else. They're like, yeah, that's for like
a child,
for a child's room.
That's for a child. I do.
That's
have to
first
throw
time.
this,
And this person like called themselves out like, oh dear Lord,
yeah,
I am going to hell.
I do have to throw this one last comment up.
Do it.
Scott B says, the ship hitteth the fans.
I love that. Yeah. We're going to be insufferable. Be prepared. Upgrades is really where the shit hitteth the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the ship.
The ship is hitting it too. All of it.
The ship.
Hitting
the ship and the shit. Just
all of it.
Who's closing it?
Not me. I did it last time.
I feel like I haven't closed in a while.
I think it is you. Because you deferred the other week.
I did.
Oh, hold on. Let me get you queued up and ready to go. Thank you, everybody, for a very entertaining comment section.
Yes.
Come back next time and do the same. Because it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, but I'm not ready.
I know. Okay. I mean,
Trying to think of
Um,
anything else.
oh no. I get it. I'll get there. Shit, I need to be better about preparing these.
I don't have. Yeah, I never think to
Oh,
prepare
okay,
anything
wait.
either.
Oh, okay, hold on. I'm focusing. Um,
I don't know, but while you're going to close the iris, I'm just going to stare at you like Sam was.
do it. Do it. I need
Expectations.
John. I need John to come through in the comments. He always is a good one. I'm just kidding. Okay.
I can't make my eyes as wide. I'm
She just
trying
has
really
big,
hard.
beautiful
I'm
eyes.
trying really hard.
Okay. Oh, did someone just say Papa? Stop.
Oh god.
Okay. That gave me what I needed. Okay. Okay, you're in. Papa, what did you just do? You just closed the iris. Papa.